We were going to kind of do like a biography thing. Like, we actually wanted to dive into these artists because they're dead. Well, this one's dead, so his story ended pretty much. So we could do a start to finish of his life. But then we're like, we don't have time to research this. We're not very good. I was never good at writing reports in college or high school, so me doing that would be stupid.
Yeah, I feel like I could do a good job if I had not the job all day.
Your actual job, yeah.
That I then come home and do this. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about Merle. If this is your first time joining us, you are not aware of the fact that I have a Merle Haggard tattoo, but now you do. And so it's just exciting. So obviously Merle means a lot to me. He means a lot to a lot of people. I know it means a lot to you too, Steve.
I don't even like him.
Yeah, but
no, that guy sucks. Yeah, fuck that guy.
Pretty bad. I was just hoping we'd do Luke Bryan this week.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, we're not really doing a whole autobiography type deal. Autobiography would mean that I'm writing it and I'm Merle, and that's wrong. But yeah, we're gonna talk about some random things that he did do, which is cool. But just first of all, just wanted to put it out there. I have a Merle tattoo. He means a lot to me. My dad got me into Merle, and so that always, that's always how I feel when I listen to Merles. I think about all the times that my dad would play them, and still sends me, random texts about when he's brewing beer and listening to music and how, you just get, no one can fucking touch Merle. And I'm like, God damn right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And, we're like, so if you want to listen to like a biography podcast, go listen to that fucking Cocaine and Rhinestones podcast or whatever. He does it better, even though my opinion of him is not that high. But so let's just all right. So instead of doing a bio, I just remember this article from Saving Country Music a while ago. Even though, as we've said before, we're kind of falling off that train of listening to White Knight about women all the time. He puts out these awesome articles about like 10 badass moments from these artists, and so I just kind of want to read the Merle ones because they are fucking awesome. Like, Merle Haggard was a fucking badass.
Oh, he went to jail a bunch of times.
Like, when all these like prissy pop country artists are like, I'm an upcoming outlaw country artist. It's like, no, you're fucking not.
Yeah, especially if you say that you're an outlaw artist. Like, I'm an outlaw. It's like, okay, no.
Well, yeah, it's like that's like the Waylon song of this outlaw bit done got out of hand and all that, because it's like they didn't want to be outlaws. They just wanted to make the music, and that's what made them outlaws. I mean, granted, they were drug addicts and shit, but like they're not addicts. They had drug problems.
Waylon certainly was a drug addict.
quite a bit. That's always my favorite when I always tell people, like, who are your heroes? I'm like Waylon Jennings, Chris Farley, just not the drug problems.
The people that died mostly because of issues. Yeah.
The guy who
Jim Belushi. No, John Belushi. Jim Belushi's still alive. Wrong Belushi.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the guy who died of a speedball overdose while with a prostitute or whatever it was.
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, exactly. So top 10 badass Merle Haggard moments. Number 1, he was born in a boxcar.
Yeah, I did, and I'm pretty sure his boxcar home is like turned into a museum or some shit nowadays. Something like that.
Let's see. It said Merle Haggard was born in the boxcar April 6, 1937. The Haggards eventually purchased the land around the boxcar and expanded into 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, and a breakfast nook.
That's so awesome.
That's funny. They purchased the land around the boxcar. That's really funny. Number 2. Oh, this is my favorite fucking one. Telling off his CBS Records executive for firing Johnny Cash. So I'm just going to read this one verbatim because it's so great. In 1985, Merle released a song, Kern River. May have heard it. And it reached number 10 on the country charts. But if it was up to CBS Records executive Rick Blackburn, the song would have never been recorded at all. Blackburn hated the song and apparently went out of his way to tell Merle as much at every opportunity he had. Then at some point, Merle had enough. Blackburn mouthed off to Merle about it, and Merle lost it. He said, "That's the 3rd time you've told me that," Haggard said. "It's more like 5 times. Well, I'm about 5 times short of telling you to go to hell." Then Haggard continued, "Who do you think you are? You're the son of a bitch that sat at that desk over there and fired Johnny Cash. Let it go down in history that you're the dumbest son of a bitch I've ever met." I fucking love that.
I fucking love it. It's so great. Like, Like, that shit does not happen nowadays. Like, it just doesn't. And that's what makes these, like, when people talk about, like, oh, I wish the old times would come back. Like, that's the kind of shit that you think about where they're just like, they don't give a fuck, but in a good way.
Yeah, and then, because it was like when we were talking to Jamie Lynn Wilson a few weeks ago, how she was saying, like, people today, they just don't have control of the music. It's people telling them what to do. And it's like, that's why these guys were out. People, always say, like, oh, they're outlaws because they did drugs and they played rockish music. It's like, no, it's because they wanted to play what they wanted to play. That's why they're outlaws. They were going against the rhinestone suits. And it's like in Are You Sure Hank Done It This Way, the song by Waylon. He says, like, how it's all same old tune, fiddle and guitar, like it's all the same shit, and so they're like, no, we're just gonna play what we want to play. We're not gonna suit up and be like, oh, we're the pretty boys for you. And that's what, like, when people say like Brantley Gilbert's an outlaw, I'm like, just because he goes blah 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 blah, and fucking
liking motorcycles and the Second Amendment is not all that is required to be an outlaw. Like,
because
what the fuck?
Granted, he still makes his own music, but it's shitty, and you know people are turning his music into this popish shit. Granted, he writes shitty songs like The Weeknd, and
but it's also because he knows that that's what people eat that shit up. Like, it's not fucking like it's not like he's like, I don't know, my brain is broken and I'm trying to make a point. But basically, I think what the thing is, I'm saying, despite the fact that he may control what he makes, the fact that there's a horde of people who want that recycled garbage nonsense, that dictates what he makes because he knows that he can sell it like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is so that's why I love that these guys are true fucking outlaws. But yeah, number 3, watching Johnny Cash play at San Quentin prison.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so if you don't know, Johnny Cash used to do, like, I don't know if there were tours, but he did concerts at jails all the time, or prisons all the time. And apparently Merle was at one of the prisons at the time when Johnny Cash was playing.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be one of the later bullet points on that list, but he got arrested an alarming number of times when he was young and just kept breaking out.
He says, no one knows if it's true or not, but he says he broke out of jail 17 times.
I love it.
Which is so fucking awesome. Merle Haggard's such a
because I thought I had read that it was he kept breaking out of like the local jail, and that's why they sent him to San Quentin. It wasn't the fact, like, he didn't do something so bad that he needed to be locked up for good. It was he just kept fucking breaking out, and they're like, all right, you're going to San Quentin.
Yeah. Exactly. And then number 5 is he recorded tribute albums to Jimmy Rogers and Bob Wills, which was just kind of a big deal because he did it at the height of his career when when his songs were going number 1.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was like, all right, well, I'm going to pay tribute to these guys and play their music is like a pretty big fucking deal.
Yeah, that's so cool. It just shows that he has respect for the fucking biz.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fucking awesome. Number 6, he kicked cancer's ass. So he had lung cancer, and it was diagnosed in May of 2008. I was going to say 2018. I was like, nope, he's been dead for 2 years.
No, didn't make it that far.
But so he didn't like really tell anyone. He kept it on the DL, and he got surgery, and he just fucking beat it. And
hell yeah.
He quit cigarettes in 91 and marijuana in 95, but he said that didn't have anything to do with his condition, so I don't know how then. He just he just powered through and he kept on playing because, fuck, we saw him 2015 just a couple months before he passed away, and he was amazing live.
That's the thing. He sounded really good. That was the thing that I thought was so
Willie
amazing
was
about
trying
that
to
show.
stay alive, so was Chris Christopherson, but Merle was fucking...
Yeah, Willie couldn't breathe, but Merle, his voice sounded like you'd think Merle's voice would sound, and it was great. That was one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah, I was really close to including it on the list, but since it's barely a Merle song, I didn't. But we got to see fucking Poncho and Lefty live.
Yeah.
That was was the highlight.
That song
of
is
fucking
3/4 Willie Nelson. That's another one where I don't know how true it is, but I know that my dad always would say that when they were doing that song, Merle looked at it. He's like, the song's way too goddamn long. I'll just come in at the end. And so I don't know if that's true or not, but I really hope it is.
The number 7, he did the "Me and My Crippled Soldiers Give a Damn" protest song, which is actually on one of them on our list. I included it because Well, I'll just talk about when we get to it. But he did like conservative type songs, and so it was awesome that he just sang these songs to try and shed a light on veterans and stuff, and it's fucking awesome. Number 8. Oh, I don't know. This might explain it. Hold on. He recorded Poncho Lefty with Willie Nelson. So it says he recorded the famous Townes Van Zandt song. Blah blah blah. Went number 1. No, I think it was just the fact that he never did duos really that much, but the fact that he teamed up with Willie Nelson for a song was a big
absolutely.
Deal. Number 9, which is this is a great one, is helping to define the Bakersfield sound or Bakersfield sound.
Especially for any of you fucks who think that horns don't belong in country music.
Yeah, I loved that when Sturgill put his album out, the Sailor's Guide to Earth, and people are like, horns aren't supposed to be in country music. It's like, have you ever heard Merle Haggard?
It's like, you have never listened to Merle Haggard, and fuck you.
Yeah.
Because not only do horns sound great all the time, they sound really great when well incorporated into a country song.
Yeah. So, all right. So I'm just going to read this one because it's cool. Because if you don't know what the Bakersfield sound is, this kind of explains it. As the bean counters on Music Row out in Nashville decided that for country music to survive, strings and choirs needed to be added. They needed to refine the sound of this rural art form to appeal to older audiences. The country music rebels out in California said, "Screw that," and we're slinging and started slinging their Telecasters around, playing way too loud and pushing boundaries. Right beside Buck Owens at the forefront of this movement was Merle Haggard and his hard-driving, hard-edged sound embellished by Ralph Mooney's blaring steel guitar. Not only did the Bakersfield sound keep Nashville's countrypolitan in check, it also showed many of Bakersfield's rock and roll neighbors in places like L.A. and San Fran that country music could be cool, and next thing you know, you have bands like the Byrds and the Grateful Dead cutting country records. So, yeah. See, and so that's what's awesome is that it's the same with just what's happening nowadays down in Texas, is that Nashville's doing this pop shit, but this revival, as like we talked with Jamie Lynn, like people love this music, they just don't know it exists. And sadly, I guess Nashville, I think, is just big enough that they're able to push it down, because back then they were getting loud enough that Nashville had to back down. But now I think Nashville's such a powerhouse that they're able to be like, fuck that, just shut that off. Like,
it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist until we take one of those artists, and then it exists.
Yeah. And then number 10 is he recorded 38 number 1 hits. So,
my man.